Hey guys, welcome again to my YouTube channel, and thank you so much for the new 10 subscribers that I've gained in the last 4 days. I really appreciate everybody who is tuning into this video, who is commenting. You really did motivate me to continue the series and continue my journey here on YouTube. And one thing I want to tell you guys before we begin with today's conversation is I did invest into buying a new mic. I know the mic quality has been garbage. This mic was bought at a hardware store for like 25 bucks. So I purchased a HyperX mic. It cost a little bit over 100 USD dollars. However, that mic has some great reviews, so you should see some high quality improvements in the voice channel, in the voice part of this channel. And today, I really want to speak about globalism in the stock market, and I'm going to tell you how I actually get the information that I get to. Now, a lot of people might not agree with me, but all the single stocks and the dividends that I buy, the dividend stocks that I buy on my own portfolio in my own investment account. However, my big ETFs, the ones that I have a couple $100,000 in at this point in time, those ones are none of them are managed by me. They're only managed by my bank, and I am buying the bank's index funds through BlackRock. Now you're probably wondering, Rob, that is such a stupid idea. You're paying index fees because if you go get a VOO index, you're paying 0.1% versus a bank which you're paying 0.8%. Which I'm getting a 0.8% because I was able to negotiate pretty well since I had a large sum of money that the bank wanted. But there is a reason I'm doing this. I'm willing to take this short-term loss on 0.7% of my gains per year because I get a lot of financial insight. So pretty much the way I got into getting all this financial insight was one of the biggest banks here in Canada has all my mortgages, and so they were clearly able to see how much money I had, and since they had access to my bank account, obviously they saw how much money I was bringing in every month from my various businesses, my dividends, and the other source of income that I had. And because of this, they had offered me some substantial discounts in their fees for their ETFs, and I took it. The reason why was they gave me access to a private banking service, and this private banking service talked to me, kind of gave me numbers of people who I wouldn't have had the pleasure of speaking to, and one of them has become really good friends with me. And so he's you could call him an economist for RBC, the biggest bank here in Canada. However, he pretty much me and him chit chat about once a week, and we talk about the various ins and outs. And because I pay that 0.77 fee with RBC, they really do give me a lot of insight into how the big players, the people who are having millions and millions of dollars in their ETFs, how they're kind of looking at the portfolio and what they're looking at. So it gives me a little bit of insights, and that helps me make more market decisions on my other portfolios or my real estate portfolio or my businesses. And so for me, that 0.7% is very valid, worth it. Is very worth it. Now, what have I spoken to them? I'm going to give you some insight on it. The most recent conversation with them was talking about diversification with the global markets. A lot of people have been speaking about this. The reason why they're speaking about this, obviously, with the tariff talk, people are wondering, should they take their money out of the USA? I heard a lot of investors say they want to put their money into Europe. Now, I'm going to tell you a stance that I have not heard on the internet before, but a stance that I definitely have heard all of my portfolio managers speak about, and that is the USA stock market is a global market. And what I mean by this is this: a lot of people think you have to diversify into Europe in order to get some Europe gains, or you have to invest into China. However, let's think about Apple, for example. Apple is the most global company in the world. For example, Apple does not manufacture in the USA. They might now, but they're not at the moment. But wait a second, they don't just sell in the USA. They sell in China. They sell in Germany. They sell in India. They sell everywhere in the world. So when we're talking about globalism or talking about investing into the global market, this isn't 100 years ago, which your company that you're investing in only has room to grow in your country. No, almost all of these companies are very global companies. So when people worry about, oh, I need to make sure I have a global index or have a global stock portfolio, I say you shouldn't need to. The idea from that I've heard from people who again are a lot smarter than me in managing these funds is they check to see how companies actually perform in the global market. And for example, another example is Google or Microsoft. Do you guys remember a few months ago, Microsoft's security partner had a big issue with one of their software updates, and that grounded every plane pretty much in the entire world in Heathrow as well. Just to see that if they have that type of power where one of their software issues has an issue, and now another country's entire plane system or booking system is entirely down, that goes to show you how integrated everything is. And because of this reason, I don't feel the need to have to diversify so much outside of the USA, because I know the big companies that I'm investing in, the tech companies that I'm investing in, or the car companies that I'm investing in, such as Tesla. Now, I know Tesla's recent earnings with the European market hasn't been great, but they sell everywhere. They are not just a USA company. And because of that, you have a very global, diverse portfolio anyway. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't invest a little bit, like, for example, BYD, or another stock like Alibaba, or whatever the hell you want to invest in. But what this does show you is you don't need to be so worried about global investing, because any of the biggest companies in the USA are global. None of them are just USA. They might be based in the USA, but they got headquarters in Germany, in China, in Canada. And that's one thing you really want to remember. So when you're worried about, or next time you think about spreading your or diversifying, just ask yourself what the companies that you invest in, why do you invest in them? Because you're counting on the fact that they will grow market share in every country, not just in the USA. I really appreciate you guys tuning in again, just giving you my stance on this. And again, if you guys have any questions, for any listener out here who wants to hear from, again, portfolio managers who are smarter than myself, because the only reason why I know what I know is because I ask a lot of questions, and because I have accessibility to the people making big decisions for millions and millions of dollars of portfolio value. I'm lucky enough where I can ask them questions, and then it expands my knowledge. Like, this is not this idea of globalism for the stock market, for the USA stock market, was never an idea to me. I've never even heard of it until me and him got into a conversation where I asked him a question. I said, hey, should I be more diversified in the global index? And he told me that recently he had spoken to a fund manager from BlackRock who because the RBC uses BlackRock funds, who spoke, and so that BlackRock manager owns over billions, multiple billions of dollars in asset allocation. And he told this guy, this is how I diversify for global for a globalist type of market. And once he said that, I was hooked, and I started seeing he's very correct on that. And so, if you guys again want to invest outside of the S&P 500 and you want to go look at other, you're never doing anything wrong, right? Investing is always a good game to be playing. However, understand that there are so many ways to do this, and there is no right way. Thank you again for tuning in, guys. I hope I can win you guys as a subscriber. We'll talk to you soon.